When I was 16, I started sleepwalking. My parents brushed it off as stress, but I knew something was wrong when they began finding me in places I had no memory of going, like the backyard shed at 3 a.m. or standing barefoot in the snow behind our house. I kept telling them I wasn't walking in my sleep. Something else was moving me. One night, I woke up standing in the hallway. The entire house was quiet, too quiet, and the air felt heavy, like it didn't want to be breathed in. I turned toward my bedroom, but before I could move, I saw him. A man was standing in my doorway. He wasn't a shadow or a blur. He was clear, solid, real, tall, thin, wearing something like an old wool coat that reached his ankles. But the worst part wasn't what he wore. It was how he stood. His head was bent so low his chin touched his chest, like his neck had collapsed. I whispered, "Dad?" even though I already knew it wasn't him. Slowly, the man lifted his head, and I realized he didn't have a face, only stretched skin, like something had pulled it tight over bone. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My legs wouldn't move. I felt my heartbeat in my teeth, in my fingers, everywhere. The faceless man stepped forward, then another step, then another. The closer he came, the colder the hallway became. My breath fogged in front of me as he reached out a hand, long fingers too long, and touched my shoulder. The instant his skin met mine, I collapsed. Not from fear, from something pulling me down like gravity had tripled. I woke up in my bed as if nothing happened. Morning sunlight, my mother making breakfast, my father reading the paper, normal life. Except there were bruises on my shoulder. 5 long finger-shaped marks. That was the first time. It didn't stop there. Every night after that, I'd wake somewhere else in the house, the kitchen, the porch, the basement stairs, and always, the faceless man would be standing nearby, head bent, as if waiting for me. The last night I saw him was the night we moved out. I woke up kneeling on the living room floor. The house was empty, boxes packed, furniture gone, and the front door stood open. Cold air blew in. I looked up, and he was standing outside, not moving, not bending, just watching me. For the first time, he had a face. It was mine. I used to work the night shift at a small roadside motel. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet, most nights, except for the nights when room 309 was booked. The owners never told me why they didn't use that room unless everything else was full. I learned the truth myself. The first time I checked someone into 309, it was a traveling salesman. Middle-aged guy, tired, polite. At around 2 a.m, he called the front desk. "There's a little girl knocking on my door," he whispered. "She keeps asking to come in." I froze. There were no kids staying at the motel. "Don't open the door," I told him. "I'm coming up." The hallway on the 3rd floor was dim, the kind of dim that looks deliberate. As I approached 309, I heard tapping. Soft, rhythmic, like knuckles against wood. I turned the corner and saw her. A little girl, maybe 8, wearing a white nightgown stained at the bottom. She stood facing the door of 309, knocking slowly, patiently, like she had all the time in the world. "Sweetheart?" I called. She stopped knocking, but she didn't turn around. Not a single muscle moved. I took a careful step closer. "Are you lost?" Then, in a voice that sounded too old for her small body, she said, "He took my room." Before I could speak, the salesman inside unlocked the door. I yelled for him not to open it, but it was too late. The door swung open. The girl finally turned. Her eyes were gone, just empty sockets, dripping something dark down her cheeks. The salesman screamed, stumbling back into the room. The girl stepped forward without touching the floor, gliding inside like she was made of smoke. The lights in the hallway flickered. The door slammed shut. When I opened it minutes later, the room was empty. The salesman was gone. No sign of struggle, no sign of him at all. Only the girl stood in the corner. This time, she had eyes. His eyes. I quit that night, but sometimes, driving past that motel, I still see a little girl in a white nightgown standing in the window of room 309, knocking on the glass from the inside. My older brother Alex died in a car accident 5 years ago. It shattered our family. He was the kind of person who lit up rooms, who made life feel easier. Losing him left a hole nothing could fill. 3 days after his funeral, my phone rang. It was his number. I stared at the screen until the call ended. I convinced myself it was a glitch, some carrier delay, anything but what it looked like. Then the voicemail notification appeared. My hands shook as I pressed play, static, a long, slow breath, then Alex's voice, faint, strained. "Don't go into the basement." I dropped the phone. My house didn't even have a basement. I erased the message, told myself I was grieving, hearing things that weren't there. But the next night he called again. This time I answered. "Alex?" I whispered, more static. Then, "They're coming tonight." My whole body went cold. "Who's coming?" Silence. Then a whisper. "I can't hold them back anymore." The call dropped. I barely slept. Every sound in the house made my heart jump, but nothing happened. No one came. A week passed, then another. I started to accept that grief was playing tricks on me, until the night the power went out. My phone lit up in the darkness. Alex calling. I answered instantly. "Please," I begged, "tell me what's happening." This time there was no static, no distortion, just his voice. Clear, calm, too calm. "They're here." Something moved behind me, a soft shuffle like feet dragging the floor. I spun around, but the room was dark. I grabbed a flashlight and swept it across the living room. Nothing. "Where are you?" I whispered into the phone. Alex exhaled. "Right behind you." The line cut. I turned slowly. A figure stood in the corner. Tall, wrong, like a human shape stretched too far. It shifted, stepping into the light, skin gray, eyes black and endless. Its mouth opened, but didn't move like a mouth should. And when it spoke, it used Alex's voice. "He tried to warn you." I stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. Darkness swallowed the room. Something cold touched my neck. Breath I knew wasn't human slid across my skin. I ran into the hallway, slammed myself into my bedroom, locked the door. Through the wood, I heard whispering, not one voice, many, dozens, all speaking in my brother's tone. "We're here. We're here. We're here." When the sun rose hours later, they were gone. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Alex's number. "I'm sorry. I couldn't stop them." I changed my number, moved houses, moved cities, but some nights, when everything is quiet and the air goes cold, I still hear my brother's phone ringing.